Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the news from Saba Satellite Channel from Marib. Let's begin with the headlines.
President Al-Alimi meets senior AOS envoy, reaffirms strategic partnership and de-escalation efforts.
Prime Minister orders urgent measures to restore stability and service in Hadramaut.
Hadramaut authorities praise security forces for restoring stability.
Welcome back and to the details. President Rashad Al-Alimi met in Riyadh with Mas'ad Boulos, senior advisor to the U.S. President for Arab and African Affairs, and Stephen Fagan, the United States ambassador to Yemen. The talks focus on bilateral relations, recent developments in Yemen, and U.S. support for government reforms, alongside the close coordination on counter-terrorism and efforts to deter the Iranian-backed Houthi militia. President Al-Alimi praised Washington's continued backing of Yemen's constitutional legitimacy and humanitarian support, stressing the importance of renewed assistance to strengthen services and development. He briefed the U.S. delegation on recent unilateral moves in Hadramaut and Al-Mahra, warning they risk destabilizing Yemen and threatening regional maritime and energy security. He said several measures taken by the state, including ending foreign military presence, were necessary to protect de-escalation efforts, civilians, and state authority. The U.S. side reaffirmed Washington's firm commitment to Yemen's unity, stability, and territorial integrity, and to continued cooperation on security reforms and protecting international waterways.
In the same context of intensified U.S.-Yemeni consultations, and as Washington expands its engagement with Yemen's leadership, member of the Presidential Leadership Council held talks today with the American delegation. Member of the Presidential Leadership Council, Tariq Saleh, met with Mas'ad Boulos, senior advisor to the U.S. President for Arab Affairs and the Middle East and North Africa, alongside U.S. Ambassador Stephen Fagan. The talks reviewed recent political and security developments in Yemen and their impact on national and regional stability, highlighting ongoing de-escalation efforts led by Saudi Arabia. Discussions also focused on securing maritime routes in the Red Sea and Bab al-Mandab, safeguarding global trade, and strengthening coordination among Yemeni components to enhance security, counter terrorism, and confront shared regional threats.
Alongside regional mediation, diplomatic coordination with international partners remains underway. The Speaker of the Shura Council, Ahmed Ubaid bin Daghr, met with Stephen Fagan, the United States ambassador to Yemen, to review the country's latest political and security developments. The talks focus on recent unilateral actions by Southern Transitional Council forces in Hadramaut and Al-Mahra, which bin Daghr said undermine the state institutions, threaten national cohesion, and risk wider regional instability. Bin Daghr stressed that Hadramaut and Al-Mahra have the right to manage their affairs and safeguard security within the framework of the unified Yemeni state, rejecting any attempts to impose realities by force. He welcomed Saudi Arabia's swift response to recent developments and its readiness to host an inclusive Southern dialogue, describing it as a key opportunity for a responsible and comprehensive approach to the Southern issue. The U.S. ambassador reaffirmed Washington's support for Yemen's constitutional legitimacy, unity, and efforts toward a lasting and inclusive peace.
Following high-level diplomatic engagements aimed at stabilizing Eastern governorates, the government has moved to translate political de-escalation into concrete measures on the ground. Prime Minister Salim Saleh bin Break issued urgent directives to all ministries to coordinate closely with local authorities in Hadramaut to restore normal conditions following recent unrest. The Prime Minister ordered immediate measures to resume public services, strengthen security, meet urgent civilian needs, and hold accountable those involved in looting or violations, stressing that stability in Hadramaut is a top government priority due to its strategic and economic importance. He also directed the reopening of Rayan and Sayoun airports, the resumption of health and education services, an accelerated response on electricity and water, reaffirming full government support under President Rashad Al-Alimi and praising Saudi Arabia for its role in de-escalation and civilian protection.
Meanwhile, on the ground in Hadramaut, local authorities say security conditions are stabilizing as coordinated efforts continue to protect institutions and restore normal life across the governorate. Hadramaut Governor and head of the local security committee, Salim Al-Khanbashi, has praised the efforts of military and security forces along with local community groups in maintaining security and stability across the governorate. Speaking during a pro-security meeting in Al-Mukalla, Al-Khanbashi highlighted the protection of central prisons in Mukalla and Sayoun, the prevention of inmate escape attempts, and the securing of residential areas, government institutions, and commercial centers. He stressed the need for continued coordination among all security and military units to strengthen stability, uphold the rule of law, and create conditions for the resumption of service and development projects. Al-Khanbashi said the coming phase requires heightened vigilance, discipline, and readiness to meet citizens' expectations for security and sustainable development.
And building on growing international backing, key regional and global partners have welcomed the latest political developments on the southern coast through dialogue. Saudi Arabia, the European Union, and France have welcomed Yemen's initiative to launch an inclusive southern dialogue aimed at addressing the southern issue through political consensus and dialogue. During its weekly session chaired by King Salman bin Abdulaziz, the Saudi Council of Ministers reaffirmed the kingdom's support for President Al-Alimi's call to convene a comprehensive conference in Riyadh, bringing together all southern components. The move, Riyadh said, seeks fair solutions that reflect the legitimate aspirations of southern Yemenis and support stability in the country. In a related reaction, the European Union also welcomed the initiative, describing it as an important step toward addressing southern issues through dialogue and mutual understanding. The EU urged all parties to engage constructively in the conference, stressing the need to reduce tensions and improve living conditions for people. In the same context, France reaffirmed its firm commitment to Yemen's unity and territorial integrity, voicing support for the President's proposal for comprehensive southern dialogue. France emphasized respect for the authorities of the Presidential Council and the government, and reiterated its backing for diplomatic efforts toward a political settlement based on these principles.
And as regional diplomacy intensifies around Yemen, Egypt has reaffirmed its firm support for the country's unity and state institutions, backing renewed efforts to de-escalate tensions and revive the political process. Egypt has reiterated its unwavering support for Yemen's unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, stressing the importance of preserving national state institutions. In a state on Tuesday, Egypt's foreign minister said the position was reaffirmed during a meeting between Foreign Minister Badr Abdul Ati and United Nations Special Envoy to Yemen, Hans Grandberg, as part of ongoing coordination on the Yemen file. Cairo emphasized the need to prevent further escalation, safeguard Yemen's national institutions, and protect the countries from renewed instability. Egypt also called for intensified efforts to consolidate the ceasefire, lower tensions, and create conditions for the resumption for an inclusive Yemeni political dialogue, aimed at achieving comprehensive and sustainable settlement that meets the aspirations of Yemeni people. For his part, the United Nations envoy briefed the Egyptian side on his latest engagements, praising Egypt's role in supporting de-escalation and regional stability.
Yemen's diplomatic outreach continues across the region, as officials briefed partners on recent political and security developments and efforts to stabilize the eastern governorate. Yemen's ambassador to Sudan, Omar al-Madawi, has met with Abdul Azim al-Sadiq, Director General for Arab and Asian Affairs at Sudan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to discuss strengthened bilateral relations between the two countries. During the meeting, the Yemeni ambassador briefed Sudanese officials on recent developments in Yemen, including measures taken by the Yemeni leadership in Hadramaut and Al-Mahra to restore security and stability, as well as the call for an inclusive conference bringing together southern political components to address the southern issue through dialogue. For its part, Sudan reaffirmed its continued support for Yemen, emphasizing its commitment to the country's security, stability, and development.
And as international engagement continues, Yemen has briefed key Asian partners on recent developments and efforts to stabilize the country's eastern governorates. Yemen's ambassador to Japan, Adel Al-Sunaini, has met with the head of the Middle East and Africa Department at Japan's Foreign Minister to discuss bilateral cooperation and the latest developments in Yemen. During the talks, the Yemeni envoy praised Japan's continued support for the Presidential Leadership Council and the Yemeni government, as well as its humanitarian and development assistance and backing for peace efforts. He briefed Japanese officials on recent developments in the eastern governorates, outlining measures taken by President Rashid Mohammed Al-Alimi to preserve national consensus, protect civilians and public property, and reduce tensions in line with constitutional and international humanitarian frameworks. Japan, in turn, reaffirmed its firm support for Yemen's unity, security, and stability, and the pledge into continued coordination with the international community to advance peace and ease humanitarian suffering. For continuous updates, stay with Saba Satellite Channel. Thank you for watching and have a good time.